They have to provide the heat and AC, and they have to, they're now responsible for the repair costs.
Tough negotiation.
So it's a good deal all the way around. What was the rent up to? Did they increase the rent?
Well, no.
They had the right to, but I don't know if they ever did.
No, and it was triple net, and we needed it.
Yeah.
Ron's wearing his mask. I'm gonna put mine on. You're setting a good example. Yep. But you're setting a good example. I'm gonna follow. They don't make them long enough for me.
Okay. I'm going to call the personnel meeting to order. Calling the personnel meeting to order for March 16th, 2022. Courtesy of the floor, is there anyone who would like to address the Personnel Committee meeting? Seeing no one, fine. We'll go to review of county executives' appointments, amended appointment terms to the Children, Youth, and Families Advisory Board, Lehigh Valley Planning Commission, Workforce Board, Lehigh Valley. And I'll read these. If anybody has any issues, concerns, we can deal with them. All right. I'm submitting the following individual for an appointment to the Area Agency on Aging Advisory Board. Gladys Marie Harris, Easton, PA. Her term will end on June 30th, 2023. I am submitting this to the appointment to the Children, Youth, and Families Advisory Board, Reverend David Goss, Wingate, PA, for a 2-year term to end March 22nd, 2024. Recommending the appointment of, as a citizen representative to the Lehigh Valley Planning Commission, Edward Nelson, Mount Bethel, PA. Term to end December 31st, 2025, to begin March 18th, 2022. Okay. Okay.
No, this one too. These two together.
You want, should we?
Yeah.
Just,
Those first and maybe-
all right, any questions on the ones I've read?
So it's Goss, Harris, and Nelson? Am I correct?
I believe that's what I read.
Okay. No question.
So moved?
Yeah, I saw that.
All right, we'll move
Second.
on. Okay, move on to tomorrow night. Now, I'm going to do the Workforce Board, Lehigh Valley. These were changed, and we have two.
They were already appointed, but their terms have changed.
All right, they had been already appointed, but their terms have changed. So I assume we're amending the appointment. The first is William McGee, Northampton, PA. He was replacing Bill Riley in the Joint Labor Management category. His new term will be between 3/18/22 and 6/30/24. And the following individual, Heather Cardona, Bath, PA. Amended appointment, her term, new term to the Workforce Board. Her new term will run between 3/18/22, and 6/30/24. So moved. Any questions, concerns?
Motion to move forward.
Good. All right. Now, we had on the agenda from the court. Mr. Green is here to talk to us.
Good afternoon. Thank you for providing me this opportunity to present my personnel request for the courts. I have requested.
Excuse me, could you speak into the microphone there?
You sound like Judge Corey when he says people to say that all the time in courtroom one.
I'll consider that a compliment.
Is that
I was going to
good?
say,
All
you're a
right.
good compared to Judge
He
Corey.
do. He says that all the time to people at the podium, so, yeah. I have proposals in our domestic relations section, pretrial services, juvenile justice center, and our court reporters. So I submitted a proposal memorandum to this council last week. I hope you all have a copy of that. I have financials on there as well. It's my understanding that the financials, you like in a certain format from the Human Resources Department, and that wasn't able to be submitted to you in a timely manner before this meeting. I've had conversations with Mary Lou Caboli. She indicated that her staff didn't have time to do that based on the time frame that I submitted it on March the 8th. So my financial officer, Badway Bullis, provided you with the financials there under each request that I have. And if you turn to page 2, we can start to discuss the proposal or the request for the Deputy Director of Pretrial Services and an Administrative Case Officer in that section. Since the inception of pretrial services, we have not changed that office at all since 1994. They've always had 5 officers and 1 director. And we changed it in December of 2020 when I came before this council and got an administrative case officer because of the increased caseloads, and that's continued to happen. The trend is keep going up. We have more defendants under supervision being placed on pretrial services from the magisterial district judges who are under DUI supervision, and a lot of them are also being ordered to go for random urine screens, which have to be supervised by pretrial services. Also, the district attorney right now has a new policy with domestic violence offenders where a lot of them are being placed under pretrial services. They are expected to be in court a lot more. On Monday, Wednesday, and Fridays, they are in motions court for bench warrants, revocation hearings. They're in court with Judge Corey for status conferences. And that happens every couple weeks whenever a status conference of the judge requires them to be in court to get a status on the case. So it's my request to increase their manpower because they are drowning right now. They have caseloads that are comparative to our adult probation officers, and our probation officers in adult probation have 24 officers right now. So they have 19 PO1s and they have 9 PO2s, and their caseloads are getting similar, and they're going to be parallel soon. One's
How
just
many
being
PO2s, sorry?
PO2's 9
Thank you.
right now. So their numbers are comparable. The only difference is one's being supervised, pre-disposition, and one's post-disposition. So that's the differences right now. We need some administrative oversight right now because we only have the 1 director. And unfortunately right now, and here's a prime example, he's been out on FMLA for the last 3.5 months because he broke his leg. So right now I don't have an administrator there. I have, officers picking up the slack. So any questions on pretrial?
I have one question.
Yeah, I'm sorry,
Yes.
go ahead.
The numbers that are here, are these the numbers including the benefits, or that's the piece that we're waiting?
They are with the benefits.
Thank you.
I had Badway Bullis look at it. He has the salaries there, the benefits, and then the total and what the difference is. And right now, this request for these 2 employees will be $161,769.
And my second question, it's silly, but you have this already in your budget, so you're shifting dollars, or this is an increase?
I have it, and we will be able to absorb this in our budget. As long as no one messes with my budget, I'll be okay. I'm kidding. I couldn't resist.
It's back that way.
Where's he at?
Turn around.
Okay. I couldn't resist. I'm sorry. I couldn't resist. But I do have the money in our budget. We have
Thank you.
it.
That's
Okay?
all I have.
All right.
Any other, Ms. Zirinsky?
So you indicated the number of hearings went up in 2021 from 2020, but
Good.
in 2020, were they lower because of COVID? And then in 2019, they might have been similar to 21? I'm just wondering if,
No, I understand your question, and COVID may have
played a little factor in there, but our courts didn't stop. Our officers still had to go. We didn't stop like most courts in our Commonwealth. We continued going on. Judge Corey and I were here during COVID from March all the way till the emergency Supreme Court order stopped in June. We were here every day. Pretrial officers were here because we still had these hearings operating, and we had a lot of furloughs from the prison. Pretrial is very instrumental in that because they have to give the recommendations to the judge about for them to be released. So they were here all the time. So those numbers are pretty accurate, and we're seeing them going up, and they're going to be going up this year
So
as well.
what do you attribute this increase?
Could be a number of factors. I mean, crime ebbs and flows. It just depends. During COVID, we saw a lot more domestic violence, charges coming through. A lot of more PFAs were being filed.
But
So
all
we
of
saw
these
that.
are not necessarily domestic violence.
No, not all of them.
No.
No, it's a combination of cases. So
Right.
it just could be a
But you
different
just
amount
see
of
an
things.
increase, and is that like a trajectory you believe is going to go up, like?
I believe it may go up. It just depends. It ebbs and flows in different times, and it just depends. We see it at different seasons. It ebbs and flows. When it gets warmer out, there's more people out, more people getting in trouble. When it's colder out, we see things, people are inside, we see PFAs go up, so it just depends.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions on this position? All right, thank you, Johnny. You want to move?
Okay, can we go to the next one? The next page will be creation of a chief court reporter position and elimination of a court reporter position. We've never had this position, and we depend heavily on coordination with my office for a lead person because it's getting very demanding at this time. We have 11 court reporters, and they have to be scheduled. They have to be in court. We have to have a court reporter there to draft the record. They are also there to interview potential candidates who are coming in. They approved a leave request through my office with my deputy director. They're very, very important to have. And right now, the court reporter positions, even with the software and the hardware that they're using now, it's not like some of you would know a court reporter and they have the paper coming out. It's not that anymore. These are computers and computer software that has to be upgraded and has to be in optimal performance at all times. So I'm asking for a court reporter to be upgraded, and we're going to eliminate a position. And right now I have a possibility, we have an idea who the person would be, but there's a possible of court reporters who have over 10 or 12 years experience that may want this position, and there's a possible 4 different individuals. But I am seeing at this time, we're going to eliminate one of their positions. They're all at the same salary, and I want to put them into this lead position and upgrade that. So if we do that, the financials are, it will cost us $7,063 to do that.
Any questions? I don't see any more, Mr. Green, so questions? If you wanna
So we can move on to domestic relations. Domestic relations, they are asking to eliminate 2 support technician positions, eliminate 1 clerical tech 2 position, and create a support technician, 1 support technician 2, and a clerical specialist position they want to create. And this is the same justification. What the domestic relations director is telling me is that the demand is getting more technological, and it's requiring a higher level of knowledge, skill, and ability from the state that's coming out. So that's why they're asking for these positions. And if this is granted by council, it will be a savings to the county of $17,457.
Any questions?
Any questions on that?
What is the Title 4D impact?
Title 4D is the reimbursement we get from the state at 66%. So at the 66%, we won't be getting that back if we eliminate those positions and putting these ones in. So that's money that the county won't be getting back. So we took it back from the overall savings of 48,000 minus that 31,000 we won't be getting back from state. It's 17,000.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions, council?
Oh, Ms. Myers.
Specialist, not a technician.
I'm reading this correctly, you're eliminating 3 positions to create 2, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And you plan on getting them from within what you already have already?
Yes. Yes, we have, those positions are vacant. Those 3 are vacant. So there may upgrade some people or they may have to hire somebody.
Ms. Zirinsky.
So these 2 positions, the support technician 2 and the clerical specialist, they're more highly specialized than the support technician and the clerical technician, is that correct?
Yeah, because they're going to be trained in doing DNA samples, paternity establishments. They're going to have a higher level of knowledge and skills to go along with that job.
But you said that you're going to hire from within?
What's that?
But you said
We
you're
may
gonna-
have to. We may have to train somebody to go to
So
that
hire
level,
from
or
within
we,
and train.
right,
Okay.
or we may have to hire somebody outside. I'm not sure.
And do you think that these salaries are commensurate to what it is that you're asking them to do?
Well, that's
their
not my,
specialty?
that's not my decision. That's not in my wheelhouse, Ms. Zirinsky. Those are set by this the salaries are set by this council. That's not set by me or the courts. So
Okay, is this just on a
this
step
is,
grade?
this is on the grade that's established by this county right
Okay.
now. Absolutely, yes.
That was my question then.
Yes.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you very much.
Anything else?
Yeah, any other questions on this? If not,
Okay.
Ms. Green.
The next is our Juvenile Justice Center. And what I'm asking the Juvenile Justice Center is, we want to eliminate 3 full-time positions and create 5 part-time positions. And the thinking behind that is because we are right now hemorrhaging at the Juvenile Justice Center. We have 33 openings there. And to talk about the salary, if you want to talk about salary, I think that's the problem. The problem is the salary, because I came to council and I explained that the first step I wanted to do was offer a sign-on bonus. And that was, and I was very transparent with council, told them what we were doing, went to President Judge Corey, the administrative juvenile judge, Judge Barada, and we established a sign-on bonus back in November. We hired 3 people, we lost 4 people. So what we keep hearing is salary.
Yeah.
That's the problem. So we're trying to eliminate these 3, create 5 part-time to give us another candidate pool. Because people are coming in saying, maybe we can work part-time. We think we can get some part-timers who can fill these gaps to cut down on these mandations. We're, again, I will tell you, we're down 33 youth care workers. I have 24 youth care workers working that building right now, 24/7. I have administrators coming in on the weekend to fill in the gaps so we can have coverage. And it's a problem. It's a problem, and it's a problem we need to discuss, and I think we need to discuss it in the Court and Corrections section about what we need to do. Because we're at a point now, I don't have the luxury, and I know they're talking about a wage survey and things like that. I don't have that luxury right now. I can't wait for a wage survey. Can't, if that's approved by this council. Something has to be done now. And so I'm gonna have to talk to the president judge and administrative judge of what's in the court's authority, of what we can do right now to attract more people. Because we're at a level now, it's a liability.
Yeah.
It really is. And we're talking about the most vulnerable, people that we're protecting, children. That's what we're talking about. So I'm asking this council to work with the courts to make sure we can make this happen. We need to raise these salaries. We need to get competitive.
Tara, is that it for you, or did you have more questions? I don't want to cut you off.
No, I mean, I was doing the math here, and I was just trying to figure out, like, $26,000 basically is the average that you're asking for this part-time caseworker, and that's,
Well, there's five part-time positions.
yeah, 5 part-time, and
Right.
and the cumulative rate is 134,000, is that what?
Correct, yeah. And then if we eliminate the 3 full-time, it's 107,000. But it'll be a negative 7,000 savings to the county.
Sure, it'll be a
So-
savings to the county, but each individual part-time caseworker would make approximately 26,000 base.
Well, no, because right now, our full-time workers make about 35,000. So the part-timers will not make that, because they're gonna make whatever the youth care workers is making right now, and at an hourly rate, that's gonna be their per diem rate.
So
Whatever's
what
on the scale right
constitutes
now.
a part-time worker? Is that, at 20 hours, or could that be right at 29 hours?
I believe it's up to 30 hours.
30
And and Ms. Caboli could probably answer that better. I think it's up to 30 hours, or 1,080 hours a year or something like that. I think that's what it is.
And do they get any,
They would not get benefits.
no benefits?
No, they would not, they wouldn't be eligible for benefits. But this is this is my next phase, because we did the sign-on bonus. Now I want to do the part-timers and see what we can do. But ultimately, the bottom line is we need to pay these people. We need to pay them. We need to pay the youth care workers, and we need to pay the supervisors who are supervising them, because they're underpaid, and I have 2 vacancies with them. So,
This amount that you're asking for, that you say that is a savings of $7,186, right? You've determined that these are the salaries based on the steps that currently exist?
currently exists, correct.
So could you use that $7,000 as a bonus for sign-on? Because it's already in your budget.
I could, if council will approve that, if you're gonna give me $7,000, I'll put it to good use.
But it's
believe me.
not necessarily giving it.
No, I'm giving it,
It's
Yeah, I understand.
allocating it towards the bonuses for positions that are already, that
correct.
you're already that are already budgeted for.
Yes.
That's all I'm saying.
No, I agree with you, but when I say give it to me, I'm saying that, I can't just take it out of my budget and use it for a certain,
No, it has to be,
know,
I understand
it's
the
gotta
process.
be approved by this council.
I understand the process. I'm just trying to think outside the box
Yeah, and that's why I'm
to-
asking,
with money that's already in your budget that exists there. So
Yes.
if there's a negative value here that you're saving the county, maybe
Right.
that could be, since it's already in the budget, maybe that could be attributed
correct.
to those positions.
No, and I agree, and that's why I said, Mr. Rensky, I'm asking this council to work with the courts and the administrative juvenile, and actually Judge Daly is now our administrative juvenile judge now, and our president judge, to address these issues with these youth care workers, because, we're hemorrhaging right now. And be mindful, the juvenile justice center, where we're at capacity, we brought in $2 million of out-of-county revenue from other jurisdictions, and we are not able to do that now because we don't have the staff to do it. So it's hurting us on both ends. It really is. So we need to be mindful of that as well, that we could be adding to the county coffers with this out-of-county revenue, that we've brought in $2 million last year. The year before, I think it was $1.6 million. The year before that was like $1.4 million. And out-of-county revenue, we're budgeting right now $1.6 million. And we are not gonna make that because we are hemorrhaging again, I'm telling you. So we need to address this.
Thank you.
Okay, all right, now we've got a few people, hands went up. And
Yes.
I was watching yours, but before I go forward, Ms. Green, just so I got the numbers right, if you had a total complement filled over there, what would the number of positions be for your youth care workers?
57,
And right now you said you have, is it 27,
24.
24 that are there?
24 full-timers there right now out of the 57, so we're down 33 youth care
You're down
workers.
33.
Yes, sir.
And now, you did say the part-time, and we were talking about hours, up to 30. But there's a magic number that we hit where people are eligible for health care. Is that 30 hours? That's 30 hours, right?
Yes, it
That's what I
is.
thought. Okay, hey, you never know with governments, you get these exemptions and all kinds of things. but I
So you're
just
saying we can go up to 29 hours
Yeah,
for them
Yeah.
before they hit the benefits?
When you get to the 30th.
but,
But it's got to be 30 hours over a consistent basis,
all right,
right?
let's
Right,
get,
okay,
Let's get the HR person.
yeah, well, let's get the,
okay.
we got to go in order here. Hold it, Ms. Green.
You want Mary Lou?
I know, we can get Mary Lou up, but I want to keep the
Okay,
thing
go ahead,
flowing
sir.
here, questions, you can get involved. Yeah, I mean, and actually getting health benefits is an attractive,
Correct.
so I mean, the difference between 29 and 30 could be the difference between somebody taking a job and not taking a job, and I mean, but.
Right.
I just wanted to double check that, and, all right, now, I believe I was watching, I believe Ms. Hefner is next. You had a question, and then I'll go to you. and
Has
then
this
Mr. Brown.
affected your census, and have you cut your census down because of the staffing?
It has affected our census. We've had to turn counties away. We always serve our county, of course. Northampton County kids are first, but we've had to turn kids away. And with the out-of-county revenue, I'll remind you, I signed a contract with Lackawanna County. Lackawanna County is the only jurisdiction right now I pretty much will deal with because they pay for 6 beds per day, no matter what, if they're using the beds or not. So I said, hey, that's financially savvy for me to accept. I don't, they're paying for that. And that's what is saving our out-of-county revenue right now because they are paying that and they are loyal because they like our facility and they're about to renew it again. So that is the only jurisdiction right now that I will accept their children besides our own children.
And if you want to wait till courts and corrections to address this, you can, but
Okay.
how many other counties are using our bed space?
We have right now 19 contracts, and in the Northeast, we're the only juvenile detention center that is open, that has survived, and they want to come. But if we can't serve them, they're going to go to the other side of the state. So we have some things to really contemplate at the courts, and we can discuss at the court and corrections.
Okay. On the 3 positions that you did fill with the sign-on bonus, did they stay? Because you said,
Yes.
I got 3, I lost 4. So the 4 you lost were not the 3
They
you
weren't the
hired?
sign-on bonus. And what I did, Madam President, so you understand, we staggered that bonus. So they get, I believe it's $1,000 when they came in. And then after 2 months, I gave them another portion. And after another 2 months, they would get another portion. So I staggered out to 5 or 6 months. So people weren't coming in like your suggestion, hey, let me get the $3,500 and I'm out the door.
Yeah.
So,
That's smart.
yeah, so that's what I did with that, just so you understand how we staggered that bonus.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And before I go to Mr. Myers, and then I'll come over here. Ms. Boulos is here. If your
Who's that?
Your fiscal person is here.
Yeah, Badway.
Yeah.
Is Badway here? No,
Oh,
no,
I
he's
thought
not
he was
here.
here.
No, he's not here.
Oh, okay, right, my mistake.
No, he's not here.
Never mind. Mr. Myers.
So I'm comprehending this correctly. You're down 33.
Yes, sir.
Last time I spoke to you, you were at 29, so you jumped up 4 and you got a couple.
Yeah.
Now, my question to this is, you're throwing this finance around. Those guys that are working for you, are they all going to be at the same rate?
Which guy?
Anybody that you have working presently, are they all going to be called up with anybody you got coming through the door? In other words, if we got somebody that's already there that's making, I don't know, 15-something, and you got somebody coming in at 17, is that 14 going to get up to match the person you got coming through the door?
Well, no, it depends on their experience, okay? And then when they come in. So if they come in, we have the ability to go up to the 3rd step, depending on their education and experience. Now, all youth care workers have to have 60 college credits or an associate's degree. Our supervisors are a bachelor degree. All right, so it depends on experience. So someone come in right out of college, they're gonna start at the 1st step. If they come in with 10 or 11, 12 years, I'm gonna start them at the 2nd or 3rd step. So it depends. And that's policy. and that's what we've been following.
I want to make sure I'm crystal clear with this. If we have somebody in their lower rate and somebody else comes in with 12 years' experience, I accept that. But if you got somebody else coming in and you bring in somebody else in that may just come off the street, is he getting 1646? Is that what he's
Not
getting?
if he doesn't have experience.
If he doesn't have
If
experience,
he doesn't have experience, he's starting at the first step.
which is how much?
I don't know right off the top of my head, Mr. Myers, I don't have it in front of me.
Okay, we can discuss that course
Yeah,
of
we can-
corrections
we can
if you get that
discuss it.
answer from me, because
Yeah.
I'm a little perplexed. If we got people, we're bringing them in at a higher rate, that's a disadvantage to our folks there unless you can explain to me and we can talk about it.
That's all over the county, though. That's not just at the juvenile center, Mr. Myers. That's all over the county, depending on people who come in at any division. If they have more experience than somebody who came in earlier, they may start at a higher rate. So that's just not individualized to the juvenile justice center and/or the courts. That's throughout the county.
Thanks for informing me of that fact.
Mr. Brown?
Hi, Jermaine.
Mr. Brown, how you doing?
Good.
Nice to see you up there.
Nice to see you. Nice to be seen, right?
Nice to see you up there. I'm used to you sitting over here.
I want to take a little different approach to your request. You
Yes,
have
sir.
57 approved full-time positions currently.
Yes,
Is that level, if you were staffed, is that sufficient to handle the casework that is coming through based on where you are today? If they were full?
absolutely. Absolutely. If we were full, absolutely.
Okay.
And that's even a little cushion, Mr. Brown.
Yeah.
So usually we're at about, when we were full, we'd be at like 52, 53, and that would be a little cushion, but yeah, absolutely, we'd be
Okay.
perfect.
So what I'm looking at is you're offering to cut 3 full-time and replace with 5 full-time. Why would you not just take the approach of bringing in the part-timers, 5 part-time positions, leave the full-time positions alone for now? They're not full now, so you're not spending the money.
No.
And see if the part-time scenario actually proves valuable and not before cutting and then possibly having to come back and go, well, that didn't work. We're going to do something over here with the full-timers.
Okay.
Then we got to request we'd like to get back to the 57.
No, I see what you're saying, yeah.
So just something to consider.
Okay.
Maybe modifying the request for just part-timers in the interim to see if it's a workable solution. If you get 5 or 10, hey, this is working, then we could move forward and with the
And
understanding.
then maybe eliminate them later.
Later on.
Right, okay. no.
But it seems like a lot more administrative work, as long as you're staying within your budget, which I think is what council's concern would be.
Right.
It might be just another approach to consider.
Okay, no, I like that. No, thank you. I appreciate it. That's
That-
why I asked council to work with this court and, let's come up with some ideas, because whatever we can do to think outside the box to remedy this problem, I appreciate it.
I think, Mr. Gafredo, you had a question?
He kind of touched on it.
Oh, okay. Anybody else?
Would that work within your budget?
It would. Judge, you have any?
Okay. Anybody else on this at this point? My understanding is, I think that was the last one, that this, because of paperwork, this wouldn't be taken up until April 7th, the first
Right,
meeting.
yeah, it'll be April 7th,
We
but
have
now that,
between then and now to get everything together, and hopefully all the paperwork will be ready, and, okay.
and that will work, and then I can work on your solution as well, Mr. Brown, to see if we can try to solve it.
What's your current census as far as residents at the center? I've always
I don't have that right offhand right now, it just changes every day.
What's the max you can take over there?
84.
84.
Yeah, 84 is the max.
I know over the decades, it's changed to
Yeah, no, it's 84.
84. Okay.
Okay.
Great. Thank you very much.
Anything else?
Is there any questions? The judge is great. Oh, he's courts and corrections. I'm sorry. I forget. We're continuing this in a different format.
He's hiding out.
If there's no other questions, call. Adjourn. All right, we're adjourned. We'll go to finance. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Finance meeting commences. Do we have any courtesy of the floor for the Finance Committee meeting? Seeing and hearing none, we have the review of the American Rescue Small Business Grants. The committee met last Friday, and this is the fruits of our labor. I have questions, so I don't know if Tina or Steve or both are going to field them. It looks like there's 95. Are these the complete list and we got updated paperwork? Because I believe we were waiting. We reviewed some and some people were just waiting for forms to come in.
Yep, everything you have here is current to date.
And do we have a figure, if this is granted, what money, how much money would be left after this round?
Approximately $344,000.
That's it.
That's it.
Good girl.
Wow.
We're trying.
So before I open it for questions, do you want to just review some of the discussion that we had and some of the decisions we made and update council?
Sure, I'd be happy to. So essentially, we met last Friday, hence the list you have before you this evening. We have some cleanup work to be done, and there was also press release issued that we are officially closing the small business grant portal on the chamber website as of March 31st, which will give any businesses who have not had an opportunity one last shot at it. The Greater Lehigh Valley Chamber was out in the Slate Belt region, and that is reflected here in this list. We do have a lot of first-time businesses who have not had an opportunity. We believe it's part for their making the sales calls, and of course, the press release has generated lots of additional interest. So we're going to have one additional meeting with our small business committee, do all the cleanup. We've got a couple businesses who've applied, but we're still waiting on their proper documentation. And we should be coming to you with one last final list in the month of April, and that'll completely close out the program.
Are there any questions from council?
I have a question, just out of curiosity. Number 14, Lehigh Valley Personal Training. It's GYMGUYZ Lehigh Valley? Is that?
Doing business as Gym Guys.
Oh, Gym Guys. Okay. Oh. They were being hip. I didn't realize that. Okay. That's fine. Thank you. That
Sure.
answered that.
Oh, dear.
They were hip.
They can come to your house, Ron.
Great.
Any other questions? We're good? Can we move this forward to council,
Someone from the committee.
committee?
Sure, why not?
Thank you.
Thanks.
I just want to say, I can't say it enough, kudos to Rebecca. Every time we go to a meeting, her command and understanding of all these people, her ability to like finesse it down to the dollar to make sure that everything is accurate, I just can't say enough compliments about her. And if there's any kind of HR program that you catch somebody in the act or you give them an award, please give it to her, because you can't understand it unless you're in the room with her and you see how she works. She's fabulous, so.
I agree.
Just
We
please
get
acknowledge her.
very, very, very detailed, so.
No, she's so good, and she's also really good at saying no, and I appreciate that. Thank you.
So do I.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Mr. Saborski with the Controller's Report on P-Card Procurement Card Program.
Thank you. I have one report this afternoon. We did a preferred agreement upon procedures engagement on the P-Card program for the period of September the 1st, 2020 to September the 1st, 2021. Procurement management is responsible for the P-Card program. We did 7 procedures. The first procedure was for the period under review, report the total approved transactions that do not currently have an uploaded receipt in the work system. Provide the list to the procurement management. For the period under review, there were a total of 6 transactions relative to purchases that did not upload receipts. 2 of these occurred close to the end of the period under review and were still in progress. Upon researching the remaining 4, we determined that the settings in works requests that a cardholder include a receipt for the transaction, but is not a requirement. The setting has now been changed, and a receipt is required for all transactions before the user is permitted to sign off. So that was taken care of. Second procedure was to create a data file in Works for all transactions and export it to an Excel file. Using techniques available in our ACL program, it's a data and analytical software, attempt to identify statistical anomalies in the data file and investigate the reasons for the anomalies. We verified the program in the Excel files, performed an analysis looking for statistical anomalies and found no evidence that any individual was intentionally trying to circumvent the P-card program, and all purchases appeared to be work-related. The third procedure using ACL was to compare human resources files of terminated employees to the current cardholder list. No records were found to indicate that any terminated employees were either active in P-card holdings or had any transactions in works for the period tested. The fourth procedure was to create procurement cutoff dates for 2020 and identify purchases that were made after the cutoff date. We tested 10 transactions to ensure compliance with the year-end cutoff. Only one transaction did not have documentation of the proper approval. The fifth procedure was inspect a created file for fixed assets purchased by performing the following: obtain a list of fixed asset thresholds for the various cost centers from fiscal affairs, run queries to determine if purchases were made for items that exceeded the asset thresholds, and select a sample of 10 transactions that result from queries from the uploaded receipts to determine if the purchases is a fixed asset. Provided the complete list to the Procurement Division. We found that the fixed asset thresholds were obtained. A report was run of all transactions for the period. 2 of the 10 samples were fixed assets. We verified that they were one solution fixed asset report. List was provided to the Procurement Division. The sixth procedure, again using ACL software, created a data file for a high dollars purchase over $5,000, split purchases to determine from uploaded receipts if transactions were structured to circumvent the P-card policies and procedures, and purchases were made on weekends for divisions that are not 24/7 operations. And we selected a sample of 10% of total transactions, or 10 transactions from each group, whichever is greater. Our findings were we found that we reviewed 14 high-dollar transactions. We found one transaction that had a quote attached in the works instead of the actual invoice, and 5 transactions that did not have the required 3 written quote attachments. The remaining 8 transactions were in compliance with procurement policies. There were 11 items identified as possible split transactions, but after reviewing the limit report, it does not appear these were done to circumvent the P-card limits. Of the 25 weekend transactions, we tested 24 had orders between Monday and Friday, therefore they were not weekend transactions. One transaction was made on the weekend, but it was for a legitimate business reason. All issues and lists were brought to the attention of the Procurement Division. And the last procedure was using our ACL software, select a random sample of 50 transactions for testing from the created file, and analyze the transactions selected to determine if purchases adhere to P-card policies and procedures. Our finding was all 50 transactions tested conform to the P-card policies and provisions. That concludes the report.
Thank you. Do we have any questions?
Thank you.
Very much. Oh, I'm sorry,
No,
Mr. Cusick?
Just if I could follow up, not so
Yes.
much on the report, but last year, council hired a new outside auditing firm. Could you give us an update as to how it's been going with them?
Well, we've been talking to them, Mar Dissel, and they are coming in next week for 2 days to meet with us.
Okay.
I think it was Tuesday and Wednesday next week.
They haven't started?
That's correct. We've been getting we have to do information for them first, and we've been sending that to them.
Okay.
But they will be coming in next Tuesday.
So it's going as,
It's going all right so far.
okay. You know, anytime you start a new relationship.
agree.
There can be some bumps.
Yes.
And next, we have a discussion regarding the West Easton lease arrangement.
Good evening, Michael Vargo on behalf of the Solicitor's Office. We reviewed the prior lease from 2012 along with the proposed new lease. The proposed new lease offers significant advantages over the prior lease. The prior lease was a 10-year lease. The new lease is only 5 years. So first of all, we're only locked in for half as long as we were under the prior lease. The rent is actually lower by about $10,000 per year. And even though the rent is lower, the lease is no longer a triple net lease. What that means is, and I don't know if you have both leases available to you, but what you'd be specifically looking at would be paragraph 5.1 of the old lease, which no longer exists. Under the old lease, the county was responsible for the real estate taxes associated with that property. The county is no longer responsible for those real estate taxes. The other significant changes with regard to that would be in paragraph 6.2 and paragraph 6.4, where you'll notice that responsibility for those repairs and for that machinery was the tenant, so the county's responsibility under the prior lease, but is now the landlord's responsibility. So all in all, this is a significant improvement over the prior lease. So I don't know who negotiated it, but whoever did a hell of a job. So any
Thank you.
questions by the council on the leases?
Mr. Cusick?
Yeah, you had mentioned that it is a reduction, and I would agree that at first it is. However, I believe it's in section 3. It says base annual rent shall increase by the, essentially the CPI. Now, if you've been following anything, you know that the CPI is running around 8% right now.
Yes.
So my concern is that right now it may look like less, but if we have to pay an 8% increase, it may not look like that real
So-
soon.
That provision was in the same prior lease. So it's a term that we had already agreed to under the prior lease. So it's something that, although we made significant improvements in other areas, it's something the landlord was not willing to budge on because they did have that provision under the prior lease. Now, I do not know that they ever actually exercised that provision. I'm unclear if the rent actually did increase at any point over the past 10 years, but the sword of Damocles, as it were, was always there. So to that extent, it's a risk that was already in place. And if we could get rid of it, that would be nice. But I think there were significant advances made in other areas of the lease that should offset any potential increase in the.
Right, and
hopefully will.
if inflation was right now what it had been over the previous 10 years, I wouldn't be expressing a concern. But 8% is significant, so that is a worry of mine, and it would be nice if the landlord wouldn't exercise it.
Right.
But they'd be a fool not to, given, what we're seeing with inflation right now.
Mr. Heckman?
And following on that question, we didn't get, or there's no way you see he would have agreed to an upper limit to the CPI? In other words, I mean, not that it historically does this, but we have no upper limit. I mean, it'll be whatever, if he wants to exercise it, whatever it is.
Well, it is limited to the actual inflation.
All right, but
given
there's
the
no
language in
limit
there.
within
So-
the lease other than the language.
Correct.
Tied to the CPI.
And it's a provision that is exceptionally common in this kind of commercial lease. It would be highly unlikely to have any landlord that would offer a lease that did not include that sort of protection for the landlord. Because the flip side of it is, with what real estate properties are worth nowadays, they could have just told us to pound sand and sold the property and made whatever money they wanted to make that way. So to that extent, I believe it's always a risk, but it's also a risk that will be in almost any commercial lease. It would be extremely unusual with this kind of a sophisticated co-party for them not to have that sort of, insist on that sort of language in a lease. It would be nice not to have it, but it would be highly unlikely not to find it in any commercial lease
I
of this
think
type.
this particular party's thrilled to have the county as
I'm sure they are. We pay our bills.
But the other thing is, and maybe you can't answer this, how many of these triple net leases do we have floating around yet? I mean, I know we were handing them out like candy canes at one time in our history, but.
That I can't answer since I've been with the solicitor's office
Yeah, I
for
know.
perhaps a month. This is the first one I've had a chance to review.
Mr. Barron, since you slid up behind him, do you have the answer to that?
That sounds like Lord of the Rings, right?
I believe that this is one of the last ones, if not the last one. The administration has worked very hard to eliminate them. And while the CPI is in most of our budgets with regard to rental increases, the amount of money we've spent over the years, including paying the fee for the people we put down there when the landlord refused to do so to West Easton, and we subtracted that from the rent, I believe that this is a much better arrangement for us, that we're not paying the taxes anymore, and we had to put a new roof on the place, so.
No, look,
Much cheaper.
I'm sitting here saying Yeah, please, no more triple lease nets. I mean, triple net leases. I mean, that's like, I was stunned we've ever done it. Go ahead. Thank you, I'm done.
Any other questions?
That's it. Do we have a motion to move this forward? Oh, it's already on, never mind. Any other business? With that, we should adjourn. And are we taking a break in between the two meetings?
Gotta wait.
Okay, so we have 10 minutes before the next meeting. Thank you.
Apologize to the judge and the VA.
Sorry, we're taking a break.
Yeah, believe me, if Atia can raise the rent, he'll raise the rent.